All right, welcome back. All right, so we talked about, on Tuesday, we talked about the layout and all the definitions of what is involved in a layout for a design and a design process. And you should just kind of know that this is something you'll do for the rest of the graphic design career. Like these are how you set up your document every time you open a document. It's just standard. Like you can do it without some of these things, but if you share files or when it goes to print and any of this stuff is like missing or not set up properly, it ends up costing you money as the designer. Not like getting files sent back because they're not right, all this kind of stuff. So when you design files, you start to get in the process of like always doing the same thing. I, of course, will make some documents when I'm rushing or I just need to like maybe draw something in Illustrator and use it for something else. I won't go through the whole process. But when I'm starting like something that is going to be built for a purpose, I really go into it. I'm like, okay, make sure you have all the margins, bleeds, crop marks, whatever set up. So we did Illustrator Tuesday. Illustrator is used for single page setups, posters, a flyer, something like that. When you use InDesign, InDesign is for multiple pages, something that would have, more than 2 pages. I'm going to have you set up a document, probably for super design nerds. The way I'm having you set it up isn't 100% correct, but you're going to learn that a little bit more when you take the InDesign course. I want you to just start to become familiar with using InDesign before you even get there. How often do I use InDesign? Like every day. How often do I use Illustrator? Like every day. How often do I use Photoshop? Every few days. So it is like the top tier of design programs. And like when I said, it's meant for multi-page documents, book, pamphlets, folded items. It allows for better overall setup of like body copy and all this kind of stuff. They're very similar though. They're very similar. Illustrator and InDesign are very similar. But it is imperative that you learn both and actually become equally comfortable with both. There used to be a time when people would be always, come back when I was an art director and we'd hire people. They're like, well, I'm really good at InDesign or Illustrator, but I'm not really good at InDesign. And we'd be like, well, we need somebody who's really good at both. Like you can't let one fall away from the wayside in order to use another. Lucky for hopefully all of you that are in this class that will change as I started creating later assignments that make you use one program one week, the other program the next week. So you're constantly using both. So it's just good. Like don't get too comfortable. And just one, don't just be like, oh, I use this one just because it's easier for me. Like then guess what? It's easier to not get a job. You need to be able to use both all the time. So all you need to do for this is just to follow the directions to create the InDesign document. I realized if anybody looked earlier, it actually said Adobe Illustrator. I just changed it. So much for copying and pasting. Eh? But I did change it, so it's InDesign. This is your general InDesign setup. Mine, of course, I have folders. Yours is going to look a little bit different, but we're just going to click on New File and start our setup. You're going to get this page. The first thing is create. It says create a print document. So I'm going to up the top line, print. And I'm going to change a couple things. That is 11 inches wide and 8.5 inches tall. So remember we talked about length and height. So wide by tall, like this is the way we talk. So it's actually a piece of paper turned on its side. So you can type it in, or this is one where you can hit this orientation and flip it right there. So I have, it is letter, but this is InDesign likes to preset things in using points. Points are a really, I don't know. Points aren't used that much anymore in design. It came from the newspaper and magazine eras. We still talk in font size about point, but generally you're going to get layout instructions always in inches and maybe centimeters or millimeters. It's very rare that you'd get something set up in points. I haven't seen it happen in a long time. So you just switch it here. The units is inches, the width is 11, the height is 8.5. Now we want 2 pages and we want to turn off facing pages. If you don't turn this off, you're going to get a weird looking document. Facing pages is that way I probably should have you set it up. But again, I just want you to get familiar and not worry about facing pages, which it offsets a page. It offsets half a page and you have to we've designed it a different way. For you, we want to make this easier and it's not 100% wrong. It would be wrong maybe if we were doing 5 or more pages. I would have you set it up differently. So we're going to click off facing pages. We want the start there. We don't need to worry about columns. And then here is where you get to put everything in that you need. And I'm going to switch this to 0.25. And if I hit tab, you see they all change at once. It's because they're all locked. So you can just keep that like that. So the margin is the inset. Nothing important goes outside of the margin on your document. And then the bleed, all background information goes into the bleed. And our background that goes beyond the page so it doesn't get cut off and nothing looks goofy. And then you can hit create. And what you're going to get, it's going to show 1 page. But if you scroll down, there's a second page there. And you can see there's a buffer right here that is showing the difference in the pages. Now the layers work the same way as they do in Illustrator. But if I go over here and actually click on pages, I can see page 1 and page 2. So unlike in Illustrator, they call it artboards, and you have many artboards here, you will call them pages. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm on page 1, and I'm going to pull some guides. And that's, again, click and drag from the sides. 11 is 5.5, and it's sticking for me. And I'm going to pull 1 from the top, and I'm going to pull 4.25, splits that in half. I'm going to go to my second page. And if you open the pages, you can double click on it, or you can, slide down. And I'm just going to do this. Everything we're going to do on both pages. Split that in half. Split that in half. And that's so we know where all that is. And I'm going to call the layer guides so we know what it is. And I just double clicked on it just like you would, but a little more information comes up here. And I'm going to call it guides and hit OK. And then I can lock that layer. Oh, pull a guide. All right, so then we're going to pull more guides on this one. And I'm going to pull a guide. So we have a 1/2 inch margin, and I'm going to make this into a booklet. You're going to design a booklet. And so now I got a middle guide pulled, and I'm going to pull one 1/4 inch from each side. And you can zoom in as much as you want to make it easier. And so here's the 1/2 inch mark. And I'm going to pull one side to 1/4 inch and the other side 1/4 inch past. So that splits the page in half, that middle one. And then the one on each side creates a margin for, page 1 and page 2. And I'm going to do that on the second page as well. So when I have that pages open and I double click, it immediately goes to the zoom in. And if you double click again, it zooms to the full page. So there's a couple of things you can do that makes like working in these documents quicker. I'll show that again, but I'm just going to pull that from each side. So if I double click on that first page, it goes there and it kept it zoomed in. But if I double click again, it goes the full page. And these are just quick setups that we use to help you move faster when you're designing. So now we're going to create a layer called photo. Just going to double click and call it photo and just hit return. I'm going to go to that plus on the layers and create another layer and call it name. Plus, double click on it, images. Now, if you remember, if you're working in those other design practice ones and you looked at the layers, you'll recognize all these layers that I put in are the same that I use there. Paragraphs. One that's called Cite, C-I-T-E. I'm going to create a layer called Pages. All right. Now, what we're going to do there is now you have to look at the image that is included in the document. And here it's a little bit hard to read, but it says back cover, cover, page 1, page 2. All right. So I'm going to start on page 1. All right. And it's going to seem reversed. But what happens is when you fold a piece of paper, where the cover is on a two-sided piece seems somewhat like reversed. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the type tool just like you would for Illustrator, and I'm going to click and drag. And the cursor comes up at that top corner, and I'm going to type in cover. Now this is bonus here. That's set for cover. And what I want to do is I want the text to be in the middle. And you can do that using special buttons. So I'm now on the select tool. And there's a bunch of tools right here. Right here, it shows all the way up. It says align on top. This is align center. So if I click align on top, it puts the text on the top. If I hit align center or align bottom, and I want it aligned in the center. And then if I go to the type tool, I can then click center alignment here, and it pushes that text directly in the middle. So here's my box, and my text is now perfectly in the center, perfectly in the center. Here's where things get easy. I can go back to the select tool. I can grab this and just go copy paste. I'm going to move it over. And this one, you just type right back into it. Back. There's the back cover. So cover, back cover. Yes, that is correct. Then I'm going to take that selection tool. I'm going to click and drag across both. I'm going to copy. And then I'm going to go to the second page. And I'm going to go to Edit, Paste in Place. And it put those text boxes exactly in the same place. And then I'm going to call this one page 1. This one page 2. And just to close things out, I'm going to go up to the cover. I'm going to add one more layer, call it my name. And you can just create a text box and type in your name. And if you're so inclined to keep practicing, you make this one half. up to there, and then we move it to center, go back here, move it to center. And that's how you can set up the InDesign document. Yeah, I want to see both the InDesign and the PDF. Again, I'll change, I think the wording, I'm going to change the wording. It's just export. It's always these little tiny changes between each one that, like, once you know the programs, when somebody says it, you know what to do. But there's little differences between InDesign and Illustrator. And it, like, so for InDesign, it's file, export, but in Illustrator, it's save as, because that's where the PDF came from. It's from Illustrator. And there you go. So just walk through it. You watch this again if you need to. Play around. I just showed some extra tips in the video. So the video has extra tips. If you get stuck, make sure you watch the video. But it's very similar. You guys have done this before. It should be fairly, not you haven't done this, you haven't set up a document, but you've started working in InDesign. All right, then the final design practice. Let's do that one. Because after this, you'll actually be designing. So it's galeanderson.zip. I've already opened it up. This is an Illustrator setup. And as you can see, none of the images are in there. Background, body copy, and text, but we got to put in those images. So let's get started. I'll start with the photo. File, place, and it's right here. So it's right there. Links, GA photo, place, and I'm going to place it, and then you're going to have to size it. So remember to hold down Shift when you're sizing. You can pull from any corner, however you want to do it. And we're going to make it exact as we can. The computer allows us to be so exacting that there's no reason not to be exact. Now I'm going to put in some examples. File, place. Now you can do example 1, 2, and 3 all at the same time. Place. 1, 2, 3. Now this one has a trick. So be wary. I will teach you the trick. The first one is, let's get those lower images in. I'm going to pull that one. It's going to set it in that corner, and then I'm going to pull it to the perfect size. Then I'm going to take the Chris Rock one. I'm going to scale it, again, holding that Shift button. Then I'm going to, when I line it up, it's going to want to click in everywhere. Let it click in. Let it like settle where it wants to settle. And then I'm going to resize that one as well. Here's where things get crazy. This piece. I don't want Axel over here. I have to do something brand new. What I'm going to do first is get it smaller so I can deal with it. Now, I just want only this typography part. I don't want the illustration part. So here's what you do. I'm going to draw a rectangle on top of this piece. And I'm just going to go from the corner to corner. All right. Now I'm going to take the selection tool. I'm going to click and drag and make sure I have selected both the box I just drew and the image. And now I'm going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, and Make. And that got rid of everything else. It made a mask. It's saying anything within that box I want to see, anything outside the box I don't want to see. And you can mess with that. See, like when I scroll over it, this is showing it can do more. There's more there. You know, it's like telling me like, hey, there is more there, but you don't have to work with it. If I click on it, I just get my same box again, and then I can scale that only. It's very important to know how to do that, how to make a clipping mask. That's how, in this program, you edit images. So I'll do it one more time because that is the trick, the bonus trick in this one. So I'm going to go to File, Place. I think it's 2. Yeah. I'm going to make it just for my screen size. I'm just going to make it smaller. You could keep it big if you had a ginormous screen and you had the room. But basically, because I need to be able to make that rectangle all in one sweep. You don't have to, but it makes it easier. And I'm just going to make a rectangle on top of it. Select both the rectangle and the image. Go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make, and it cuts away everything else. Here's just the bonus. I'll show you, like it shows that you have this other stuff. If you use the Direct Select tool, you can move it. And like say I just wanted him here. So you see how it still keeps all that image around, but it just deletes it. So that's how you do that. Now I'm going to zoom out, and I got my images all in. And then I can start doing the body copy, the title, and everything else. So Gail Anderson. And right now, I placed it, and I'm just ticking it. Get it pretty much centered. You know, as centered as you can. That looks great. And get the text. And remember, use your arrow key on your keyboard. Like if you get it close, like if it's locked in one area, that's what I did with the Gale. And then you use your arrow key to like finely tune it. Why, you know, rely on a shaky hand. And then I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to put in the black background, which as you can see goes all the way out to the bleed because it's going beyond anything I want off the board, goes way beyond that artboard. Here's another bonus. If you ever wanted to see like, you know, you get it all set up and what is it going to look like? You can change it to presentation mode. And it will kind of, it'll show you everything cut off. It puts, not the best maybe on with a pure black background. I don't know why they do that in the program, but you can see where it's going to get cut off, where the artboard is, and that just gives you a preview. And then you hit escape, and it brings you right back. So, and that is how you do that one. And then you know how to upload the PDF for me. File, save as. I want the PDF, not the regular file. Save on your computer. Desktop, type, PDF, save. You do press quality, save PDF, and then mine automatically opens and shows me what it looks like. There you go. That is the final lecture on layout. We'll get into layouts more as the semester goes on, but that is what you need to know. Is there any questions on the layout, how to set things up? All right, cool. Well, you know how to get a hold of me and all that. If you have questions, if you get stuck, just send me a note, go on the discussion boards, use the midweek review, whatever. Reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you if you get stuck in any sort of way. And those are the assignments for this week. And then next week, we start the amazing world of principles, the principles of design. All right, cool. Thank you very much. and I will talk to you later. All right. Bye. Ooh, that wrong one open.